Hello, my name is Dr. Marvita Gowdy, and this is English 1A, Reading and Composition. Today's lecture is on composing and revising. Assess the writing situation. Writing is a process that involves stages of planning, drafting, and revising. In the planning stage, consider your subject, your purpose, your audience, available sources of information, assignment requirements such as length, document design, and deadlines. Purpose. Consider your purpose by asking yourself, why am I communicating with my readers, or what do I want to accomplish? Often college writers write for the following purposes: to inform, to recommend, to analyze, to call readers to action, to explain, to evaluate, to synthesize, to express feelings, to summarize, to persuade, to propose. Experiment with the ways to explore your subject. In order to generate ideas to lead you to a question, a problem, or topic to explore, experiment with one or more of the following techniques: talking and listening, reading and annotating text, listening, clustering, free writing, asking questions, keeping a journal, and blogging. Don't limit your thoughts at this stage, because an idea that may seem trivial or far-fetched early on may prove worthwhile later. Talking and listening. Writing is a process of figuring out what you think about a subject. By talking and listening to others, you can discover what they find interesting, what they are curious about, and where they disagree with you. Other points of view can help advance your argument. You can begin by brainstorming ideas in a group, debating a point with a friend, or chatting with an instructor. You may also want to record yourself talking through your thoughts, send emails, instant messages, discussion board posts, or blogs to help generate or discuss ideas. Reading and annotating text. People read for a deeper understanding of a topic or to explain their perspective. Annotating a text encourages active reading by highlighting key concepts to note possible contradictions in an argument or raise questions for further research and investigation. Listing. Listing is a technique known as brainstorming. It is good for figuring out what you know and what questions you have. By listing questions and ideas, it helps the reader narrow the subject and identify the writer's position. Clustering. Clustering highlights relationships among ideas. Write the subject in the center of a page and draw a circle around it. Surround the circle with related ideas and connect the ideas with lines. Free writing. Free writing is a non-stop writing. Set aside about 10 minutes and write whatever comes to mind without pausing to think about word choice, spelling, or meaning. In focus free writing, you write quickly, freely focusing on a subject and paying attention to the connections among your ideas. Asking questions. Start with asking who, what, when, where, why, and how to ensure you are not overlooking an important fact. Asking questions is one way to get started. When writing for a certain discipline, begin the writing process by finding out which questions scholars in that discipline typically explore. Keeping a journal. A journal is a collection of informal, exploratory, sometimes experimental writing. You can take risks by free writing, posing questions, commenting on an interesting idea from class, or keeping a list of questions that occurred to you while you're reading. You may also imagine a conversation between you and your reader, or stage a debate to understand the opposing position. It can also be a source book of ideas for future essays. Blogging. A blog is a type of journal in public writing space. You may express opinions, make observations, recap events, have fun with language, interpret an image, or create a conversation with another reader of the blog. Draft a working thesis. While exploring your topic, try to think of ways to focus your material. Try to settle on a tentative central idea and convey it in a sentence or two. This is called a thesis statement. A thesis role is one or more of the following: answers a question you have posed, the solution for a problem you have identified, a statement that takes a position on a debatable topic. A tentative or working thesis will help you organize your draft. Your main points can change, so don't worry about the exact words. Remember that an effective thesis is a promise to a reader, and it points both the reader and the writer in a definite direction. Sketch a plan. Once you have a working thesis draft, list and organize your supporting ideas. Creating an outline can help make sure your writing is credible and logical. When to use an informal outline? Sketch an informal outline to see how to support your thesis and to figure out a tentative structure of your ideas. Start with a working thesis and a list of major ideas. You can turn this list of ideas into a rough outline by crossing out some ideas, adding others, and putting the ideas in a logical order. When to use a formal outline. A formal outline later in the writing is when you should use it. After you have written a rough draft, to see how it helps put the parts of your essay together and to see how your essay is logical. The thesis is an important part of the outline. Everything else in the outline supports the thesis directly or indirectly. Drafting. Generally, the introduction announces the main point. The body develops it, usually in several paragraphs. The conclusion drives it home. During the drafting stage, if you are having difficulties, try drafting the body first and saving the introduction and conclusion for later. For most types of writing, draft an introduction that includes a thesis. Your introduction will usually be a paragraph of 50 to 100 words. Commonly, open with a few sentences that engage the reader and establishes your purpose for writing, and then state your main point. The introductory sentence leading to the thesis should hook the reader with one of the following: a startling fact or unusual fact, a vivid example, a description or an image, a paradoxical statement, a quotation or a bit of dialogue, a question, an analogy, or an anecdote. You cannot assume your reader's interest in a topic. The hook should spark curiosity and often offer readers a reason to continue. The thesis usually appears at the end of the introduction, but it can also appear at the beginning. Writing effective thesis statements. An effective thesis statement is a central idea that requires supporting evidence. Its scope is appropriate for the required length of the essay, and it is sharply focused. It should answer a question you have posed, resolve a problem you have identified, or take a position in a debate. A thesis must require proof or further development through facts and details. It cannot itself be a fact or a description. A thesis should be an answer to a question, not a question itself. A thesis should be of sufficient scope for your assignment. It should not be too broad. A thesis should not be too narrow either. A thesis should be sharply focused, not too vague. Avoid fuzzy, hard to define words such as interesting, good, or disgusting. Draft the body. A working thesis is needed to develop the body because the body supports the thesis. Keep in mind what your thesis promises the reader while drafting your body. Write a list of one paragraph for each one of your supporting points. You may not know what to write until you have written a draft. If you do not have a plan, get your words down on paper, then organize them. Use this as a discovery draft, which you will radically rewrite once you discover what you want to say. Keep careful notes and records of any sources you read or consult. If you quote, paraphrase, or summarize a source, include a citation, even if even if it is a draft, to save time and avoid plagiarism. Draft a conclusion. The conclusion is a reminder of the main idea without repeating it. Your conclusion should be short and drive your point home and give the reader something to consider. A conclusion might briefly summarize your essay's key points, propose a course of action, offer a recommendation, discuss the topic wider significance or implications, pose a question for future studies. You might include details and examples or an image from the introduction to bring the reader full circle and to make a conclusion memorable. A quotation or a bit of dialogue, an anecdote, or a witty or ironic comment may be used. An effective conclusion is decisive and unapologetic. Avoid introducing wholly new ideas at the end of the essay. You may want to rework it or replace it as you revise your essay. Make global revisions. Global revisions involve checking for purpose, audience, focus, organization, paragraphing, content, and point of view. After you have written your draft, distance yourself from it. Put it away for a while, overnight if possible. When you come back to your draft, play the role of your audience as you read. Ask friends, family, or even go to the Writing Center for assistance with reviewing your draft. Focus on the purpose and organization, not words or sentences at this point. Revise and edit sentences. Review your sentences and edit them for grammar, punctuation, and mechanics. You may review your sentences on the computer or print your draft out and mark it up before making revisions on the computer. Revising with comments. The comments you receive on your draft will help you revisit your draft. You may not be able to incorporate all reviewers' advice in your draft, so sort through the comments with purpose and audience in mind. Keep a revision log to help identify concerns to strengthen your writing. Do not take criticism personally. Your reviewer is responding to your essay, not to you. Proofreading the final manuscript. Before printing your final manuscript, allow enough time for proofreading. Proofreading is a slow, methodical search for misspellings, typographical mistakes, and omitting words and word endings. Try proofreading out loud or read your sentences in reverse order to catch errors. A carefully proofread essay sends a positive message that you value your writing and respect your readers. Prepare a portfolio. Reflect on your writing. Students will submit an online portfolio or e-portfolio at the end of the semester, consisting of drafts and revisions of class writings. A reflection letter commenting on your work and your development as a writer throughout the course will accompany your portfolio. And this is the end of composing and revising, planning, drafting, and revising. See you next time.